Hey, it's me again, and I'm going to tackle another hard-hitting topic because you guys seem to respond well to me being honest about like the shit in my life, and I mean I am happy to share and I said this the other day in my Facebook stories. Don't know if you guys follow me there, but I do want to be like more authentic and real with just like not just my online presence, but just like life, you know? So I am talking today about sexual abuse and how it's affected me in my life. And yeah, I spoke about this topic publicly when I was in China, actually. We were doing an anti-bullying campaign, and the teacher who ran the campaign, he put it out there like any teachers want to come and speak about bullying in any form, whether you've been on the receiving end or you were doing the bullying or whatever. And I volunteered, and I went to go film my segment or what I was going to say, and I just totally broke down crying, and I just shared my experiences. And after it was shared out to the students in the school, dozens of kids, and these are Chinese kids that don't talk about sex, they don't talk about sexual abuse, they don't really talk about anything emotional. They like all of them came up to me, not all of them, dozens, like I said, thanking me for sharing my story and for sharing my pain and my experiences. And it was my first taste of like what being honest in public and being honest to people around you, what a gift it is. Because I mean, it just means that like there's other people out there hurting, and it lets other people know that they're not alone in these experiences. So, I mean, I think some people or most people close to me know that as a very young child, I was sexually abused by a family friend. My earliest memories are when I was around 2. And I can remember these times because there was trauma involved, but I know that he started sexually abusing me when I was around 2. Still in diapers, you know? I remember me being on like my dad's shoulders or something, and he was behind me, and him reaching up and fondling my ass, like touching my ass, like as a 2-year-old. So I'm not going to get into the specifics of what was done to me. I was never raped, but a lot of other things that you could probably imagine, horrible things. And it lasted until, I can't exactly remember the age, but I think it was around 8. So he was around for a while, and he lived in our city sometimes, and then he moved away to a city 8 hours away, and he would come and visit, and he would stay at my house, at my parents' house, as a perfect opportunity to molest and abuse me. So he went away. My mom finally caught on that was happening to me, and he was asked to go away. I don't know what that conversation was about. She won't tell me. And then my brain did that thing where it gives me amnesia, and it was actually my brain played tricks on me, and I forget most of my childhood. I have very, very few memories, especially around that time that I was being abused. I have flashes of the abuse here and there. but because of the trauma, I don't have a lot from them. And so jump to a few years later, I was in about grade 6, and I remember I started to have flashbacks, and I was confused about where they're coming from, because obviously after he went away and my brain kind of did that protection thing, I didn't remember anymore. Like I didn't think about it. Like it wasn't something I thought about daily anymore. But then they started to come back, and I remember I was at a sleepover for a birthday party at some girlfriend's house, and I think I said something. I said, like, I think I was sexually abused when I was younger. And the girls, just being girls, I don't blame them for this, but they're like, oh, that was nothing. That's just like, so they called it something like immature abuse or something, but they totally just railroaded me and silenced me, essentially. And so then I didn't talk about it again. And that was about the time I started gaining weight and using food as a coping mechanism. I would hoard food. I would sneak food away. I would hide in my bedroom and eat. As the memories became more prominent and more clear, the eating became worse. So started around 6th grade. And then fast forward to the 8th grade, when I was in full blown, I was really overweight, being bullied constantly for my weight, and the memories wouldn't stop. I was in English class, and my English teacher, Mr. Thompson, who was wonderful, he was talking about this short story we were reading, and it was about abuse. And then he started talking about his sister and his sister's experience being sexually abused. And I couldn't take it anymore. I started crying right there in class. Mr. Thompson looks over at me and he's like, let's go to the counselor. And so he took me down to the counselor, and that's when it all came out. Like I was very fearful that my parents wouldn't believe me, that I, for some reason, would be kicked out of the house if this ever came out, like, because the dude was a family friend, and I thought that they wouldn't believe me. So the counselor took some care in assuring me that, like, I will be safe regardless when I do tell my parents, but I just needed to do it. So I told my parents, and my dad didn't believe me at first. He actually said, "Are you making this up? Like, this can't be true." And then all of a sudden, all that fear came back, like, oh my God, I did the wrong thing. I shouldn't have told anybody. But my mom knew. My mom hid it. And so me coming out with this, again, we still haven't actually spoken about this, but my mom knew. And I told Dad, I'm like, I told Mom when I was young, that's why he went away. But my dad was just blindsided by all this information. One, that I was sexually abused by this guy who was a family friend. Ironically, his name is Mac. His name was Mac. And that Mom knew, and no one told him. So anyway, went to the police station, filed the report, gave my statement. The police went to his town, knocked on the door, and said, these allegations have been made against you, and you're going to come to the police station tomorrow and give your statement. And he's like, well, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, I was so drunk and stoned back then, I can't remember, which was true. He drank like a case of beer a day and smoked weed constantly, but, obviously that's no excuse. But so that's what he told the cops. And then I guess that later that day he went out and killed himself. So the police went, the next day to find him, and he was gone, and found his body in a nearby field. Can't remember how he killed himself, but he's gone. So, that caused a bunch of other things, like, lack of closure. I didn't get, it's not like I wanted my day in court, but like, that was that. I mean, I came forward with the abuse, killed himself, the end. I was able to get funding through the province, through like some kind of like victim services for therapy. But like, honestly, I just wasn't ready. I went to a few therapy sessions and he asked me questions I was not prepared to answer. I remember this one question. He was listening and asking me these questions, like, just getting me to like trying to get me to open up and talk about it. Asking specifically like what he did to me. I was not comfortable with that. And then he asked a question. He said, "Did you enjoy it? Did it feel good?" And man, that thought just disgusted me so much that I didn't want to go back to therapy. Like, I thought that's what therapy was asking me these questions that are uncomfortable. And maybe I don't, like, even looking back now, I don't know how that's helpful. But, I mean, maybe somebody explained to me why asking that question was helpful, but it wasn't helpful. It actually just made me retreat more. I was eventually able to start talking about it, and I was part of a church youth group where the youth pastor and a few group of friends, they prayed over me. And if you guys know me, you know that like I fell away from Christianity and religion shortly after high school. But something about that experience brought me peace about the situation. Just knowing maybe that I had friends around me, just like saying it out loud. And we did this exercise, like going to my inner child and blah, 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 I don't know. But you can hear it in my voice now that I'm okay. I'm still affected by it. And I know that I'm affected relationship-wise and sexually. And one of the biggest ways that I'm affected by it is my need for affection. And I still can't quite understand what is going on in my head. And I've been working on it, and I know that I probably need to go to therapy to continue to work on it. But I think the biggest way that it still affects me is I need people to tell me that I'm pretty, or I need a physical affection to believe that people like me, and specifically lovers or people I'm married to. I need that, like, either sexual gratification or physical gratification, because I guess in my formative years, that's how I was told that I was good, was sex. And I mean, like, conceptually I can understand why I'm like that, but it's like even though I'm aware, I have this awareness of why I need it and why I want it, it still doesn't make it go away. And I'm not saying that it's caused any relationships to break up, but it has caused tension where my partner will not be in the mood or not feel like touching me or hugging me or kissing me 24 hours a day, which is totally fucking natural. But my brain tells me he doesn't want to hug me. That means he doesn't love me. Like, that's seriously how I feel. And then I can, my rational mind will go, Tobi, that's nonsense. That doesn't make sense. He's with you. He's choosing to be with you. He does all of these other things. But my brain still tells me, why doesn't he hug you? It's because you're gross and disgusting and he doesn't love you. Like, These are the tricks my mind plays on me because, go all the way back 30 years ago, 35 years ago. That's just what I taught. I was taught that that's what love is physical touch. So going forward, again, it helps to talk about it. It helps to, I've been doing some meditation that's really helped me. I have a partner who I can talk to about this, and he knows what I'm dealing with or what I've dealt with. I'm not it's not a current problem, but and just sharing my experience with y'all, and talking to other people who've survived the same thing. And then, like I said, perhaps going to therapy, but I don't know. I have a lot of fears about that. So that's my sexual abuse story, and I'm getting better, and I'm I'm recovering, and I'm okay now, right? I'm a good person, and that doesn't define me. It's with me. And just before I go, I always think, what would have happened if he had not done that, and I had just been a normal kid with a normal childhood. I actually don't think that I would have played piano, because growing up, I was obsessed with the piano. My parents did not have to ask me to practice. Most mornings I would wake up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and I would practice piano until school. And then after school, I was a normal kid. Sometimes I'd be lazy or play outside or whatever. But I really was obsessed with music. And I was very reclusive. I was very introverted during that time in my life when I was either remembering or in the midst of being abused, or in that amnesia time in my life. And then in high school, when I came out with the abuse, I was totally engulfed in the music room and everything, choir band, jazz choir, everything. And it gave me that purpose in my life. So would I change anything? I wish I wasn't sexually abused and fucked up in a whole bunch of different ways. But it's who I am now, and I've become this person, perhaps because of it. So take that for what it's worth. So thank you for being with me today and listening to this, and I'll talk to you next time.